What's going on, everyone? Welcome back along to the channel where today we're going back into Super Rugby. It is round number 2 kicking off this weekend, and we're here once again to preview the up-and-coming matches for this weekend. So week 1 has already kicked off underway. South Africa got the tournament going with a pretty decent little start to the opening 2 games, but now everyone else is involved. We've got Australia coming in, we've got the New Zealand teams coming in as well, so we've got a whole range to look at in round number 2, and of course we can't do it alone, so we're bringing back our man who helped preview the New Zealand conference. It is Paul, the man behind the driving Maul. Welcome back to the channel.
Thank you very much, and you forgot that the Japanese and the Argentinians will be involved as well. It's going to be
that's the same
international
conference as Australia. And the Jaguares already started, so they're already in the same one. So it's already going. Sunwolves are part of Australia now. Come on, get with the times. We've moved on now.
Australia's
Japan is Australia. So they're all gone. Everyone's involved. So we're going to be having a look at these games, have a bit of a quick talk about the games and who we think is going to win, why, all that sort of stuff. Give our predictions, which you can tag us on. Both of us have got our own leagues on SuperBru as well. So you can join both of us. So I think Paul's might be a bit more elite than mine, but any old scrub can join my league. You're welcome. Come along and join us. So as always, before we start, this is just our opinions. So if you want to have your say on what you think as well, you can leave it in the comments below. And as we've seen all along, we read the comments, we reply to the comments, we have our own talk back to the comments, and if you make a good enough point, we'll bring you up in the next video as well. So let's kick it off. First match. Before we go into the first match, what were your quick thoughts on round 1?
Lots of people made lots of tackles. No. So, in Japan? No. Jaguares. Let's start.
Oh, you've got Japan on the head
yes,
now.
There we go.
Oh, no.
So, Jaguares, new coach and all that kind of stuff, but basically same old, same old. Lots of ill discipline, trying to do too much, and the Stormers just managed to get themselves a win. A game where both sides trying to hold on to the ball and starve the other side of possession, but I say the Stormers did enough in the end there. And then in the other game, but the Stormers are a bit lucky, perhaps a bit. And a lot of players lost their heads during that game, so it'll be interesting if they both go up against cool-headed sides, then they could really get hurt on the tape on the old points. In the other game, the Lions saw off the Sharks for, I think it's the 7th game in a row now. If I say it with more confidence, everyone will believe me, for the 7th game in a row now. So that was. That was a game with a lot more kicking, a lot more territory, a lot more a more structured game. Very different to the first to the first game, and the Sharks got sort of let down by missing a few kicks. And at the end of the day, they both missed the same number of kicks, or points, but it meant that the Sharks never got in front, and the Lions missed their kicks late on when they were already in the lead. So the Sharks never managed to get their head in front. They never managed to put scoreboard pressure onto the Lions, so the Lions could play comfortably, whereas the Sharks were always chasing the game. That saw them make a few too many errors. We had a lot of turnovers, a lot of balls been dropped, especially in the tackle area, and it was kind of interesting that it was one of these ones where I've not seen a side get so decimated in the scrum as the Sharks did. But then the Sharks did the exact same thing to the Lions in the line-out. So they both had a dominant set piece, but they kind of negated each other to a certain extent. So interesting games, and we'll see how it all pans out.
Right, excellent. Yes, it was a decent match. I thought, a decent round of 2 matches too, coming from South Africa, which can be sometimes a little bit of a letdown, but decent way to start the competition off for the opening week. So round 2 starts off in.
Both of them. Both of them show that it's way too early and too much summertime to be playing rugby. They in cooking conditions in both games, but the sides just got to the last 10 minutes were out on their feet. It was just so hot, and again for the Lions, one up in Joburg at altitude as well. So it's way too early to be playing rugby in South Africa, really.
You're opening up a whole different can of worms there, a whole pantry full of worms there.
Let's head
not even going to talk. No, because we're going to Dunedin for the first match of round 2. We're on to round 2 now, and it's the Highlanders kicking off their campaign. They're up against the Blues. Now you've got a Blues shirt on still, so it's a good way to start with your team. Good way to start with your team. But we're going to talk about the Highlanders first, and they are the home team, but the way they've gone in pre-season, now I don't know if you've been watching it much at all, but they did beat the Crusaders 46-22, 46-26 I should say, in Waimumu, if you know where even that is. And they've come out with quite a bit of intent in this season, I've found already, talking that they're going to play their best team all through. They're going to start out with their best plays. Everything, all cards are on the table from the Highlanders very early on. Do you think that when they've come into this season, out of all the teams so far, they've done all the talking and all the pre-season rubbish, whether you believe it or not, have they come out with the biggest intent, you could say, the biggest warning to the other sides as to what they're going to do, and followed it up decently as well?
Look, you can't read too much into pre-season games. Okay, it depends on what level of conditioning each team's at, and all that kind of stuff. You've got to remember, the Crusaders have got are basically just trying to survive until round 6 or something, or round 7, because I think they're missing their first choice props. They're also missing Reed, and they're also missing someone in the backs, and I've forgotten who it is now. So they've got 4 All Blacks missing, and so let's just be let's not read too much into the pre-season games. The Highlanders, it's going to be the same as always. When they've got Smith, Sopwanga, Naholo and other Smith all playing, then they're going to be good. When they haven't got those guys playing, then they're going to struggle. And it's if they keep those 4 guys in particular, but if they manage to keep players fit, then they're in with a real good shout. If they have injuries to key players, then they're going to then basically they don't have the depth to survive. But it's going to come down to that. From what I hear, Ben Smith is fit and raring to go. He's really enjoyed his sabbatical, has come back with all his niggles gone, and so I'm expecting a barnstormer from him. And let's say whilst those guys stay fit, I'm expecting the Highlanders to hit the ground running.
Yeah, they should. Then like they've said, they've come out. Smith played most of that game against the Crusaders as well. Down there, it is by Gore. So if you're a farmer out there, field days, you'll know all about what Waimumu is all about. Goodness me, you can tell you're a townie, aren't you? Goodness me, up in your nice little former Auckland house. But it happens every year. It is a tournament they play every time, or every couple of years when the field days is on. So I think that's a good start for the Highlanders. They've really come out and I think shown what they want to do this season, not hiding anything. One little extra point I was going to add about the Highlanders, I want to get your thoughts on. What's your thoughts on Mark Hammett with the assistant coach for them? Because you probably haven't seen it, but in the South African conference period, there's a lot of talk about assistant managers and the impact. Some people think they have a bit of an impact, others not so, vice versa. What's your thoughts on assistant managers briefly, but on Hammett doing that job after his time, everywhere that he's been?
I suppose it's not about your head coach. I mean, obviously he leads culture, and culture is top-down driven and all that kind of stuff. But you've got to have decent assistant coaches. I mean, Wayne Smith has been a big part of why the All Blacks have been so good for so long as well. So, Hammett is going to be important, as are the other assistant coaches. No less so. So, Hammett's, I think he's actually a decent coach. I think he's someone who perhaps doesn't do so great as head coach. I mean, he obviously caused all sorts of issues at the Hurricanes by turfing players out. Now maybe it was needed, and he does seem to be a guy that's brought in to knock heads together as a head coach. Same in Cardiff, he upset the players so much they all went and complained to the owners, saying, "Hey, he's training us too hard." Which for a team that's losing, geez, guys, you're getting paid to play rugby. Train. But anyway, he obviously came back from that. He actually, and then in my eyes, he did a good job at the Sunwolves. So I think he is actually quite a decent coach, but has been brought in to deliberately be a hatchet man in a couple of situations, which perhaps hasn't helped his reputation.
Yeah, I think I agree with you what you say about him. He's definitely a better assistant coach than a head coach. I think the whole media side of things, the spotlight side of things on what he does often is a bit too much for what he'd probably do. It's doing what he's good at, coaching, that's all. That's probably better suited to him. And you got to say, he was the culprit, or the first starting point of what is a pretty damn good Hurricanes team now. I think he was there back when they got rid of the Nonus and all those players, and look where they are now. So you can't really argue about what he's done there as well. So, maybe at the time there was a bit of upsetness, but I mean, everyone's got over that now. Right, let's move on to your team. It's the Blues. Now, you'll like this point that I've got down for the Blues. They won the Global Tens. What do you think this has done for them? Do you think it's been a help, assist them, confidence, fitness, a little bit of, it's not real proper structure, but just playing together with those fringe kind of guys as some, first team players? Do you think this has helped them doing this expectation from winning that? People were like, oh, the Blues, is this going to be a season for them? Or is it this just what most people are saying, the Tens are just a waste of time?
The Tens are just a bit of a giggle, let's be honest, okay? But you could tell at the Tens that two teams took it seriously, the Blues and the Crusaders. No one else did. And they were the only two that actually done some training and figured out how, and actually taught them guys how to play Tens. And you saw that teams like the Hurricanes, who made it to the final, they learnt as we went along how to play Tens, and they finished way better than when they started. So the Blues clearly took it seriously. They had King Carlos there. I mean, there is no one else who is sort of as revered by Blue supporters and someone who we want back to play now. He's still ripped. Just get him playing. I mean, we've got we've lost two fly halves to injury, so why not give him a go? Bring him on as Gatland's as the closer. Put him on the bench to replace Gatland when Gatland gets tired. He'd be perfect in there. He'd be all composed, etc. So I think having him around the camp was actually good for the boys. Let's be honest, most of those guys have come out of losing cultures. Auckland, awful. Counties haven't had a great season out of at the NPC level, and obviously the Blues again have been poor for, well, as long as I've been in New Zealand. So you've got all these guys have come out of losing cultures. Now, from a fitness point of view, from a skills point of view, from all that point of view, the Tens is a total waste of time. From the fact that the guys actually figured out that actually it's fun to win and it's nice to win, that could be really beneficial for them, because they could they've actually won something. They now can see themselves as winners, and culturally it could be handy. It could be good for morale. But I mean, for any other team, they wouldn't care about it because they've won Super Rugby championships recently, whereas the Blues haven't. And so I think actually winning something is good for the team. But I'm not going to read anything and say, hey, suddenly they're going to be Super Rugby champions this year. But I do think I do think it's a nice shot in the arm for them. Even though perhaps we shouldn't be talking about doping when someone else has been banned for 4 years in New Zealand for taking steroids. But anyway, I think it'll be good for the Blues.
Creating a winning culture. Who's been doping and banned for 4 years?
A guy at Heartlands level.
Oh. No concern to the Blues. Surely no concern to the Blues.
Nothing. It's like nothing to the Blues at all. I was just saying. I was saying how it would be a shot in the arm for them, and kind of like, whoops.
Oh, I get it.
See?
I get it. Oh, it's too slow.
I find my jokes are always best when I explain them. So yeah, no. But yeah, that's something we should probably do. That we'll actually be talking about on Hash Rugby Chat tomorrow night. Actually, well, you don't go out live, do you? Sorry, on Tuesday night. So check out Hash Rugby Chat. We'll be covering off on all the doping scandals that are happening in New Zealand sport, or in New Zealand rugby at least.
Here I was thinking we had some breaking news on a doping scandal in the Blues camp.
No.
I'm almost disappointed you've let us down. Okay, so that's the two sides. What's your pick for it? Who do you think is going to win it, and what's going to be the key point that's going to separate these two sides?
Well, this is I've got to say the Highlanders are going to win this one. Because their pack isn't going to get put under too much pressure by the Blues. The Blues don't have the strongest pack and definitely have the depth to follow that through the whole game. So I think they'll get some nice. The Highlanders will get a relatively comfortable run in the forwards, and then they'll use their kicking and broken field game to win the game. But the Blues will give it a go. They'll give it a good old fist, but basically at the end of the day, they're just not good enough.
So you're going your margin?
Highlanders by 10.
Oh, now you probably didn't see my round one preview, but you would have been proud because I went both 5 and 2 or 3 from those two matches. It was exactly. That's why I'm doing a nice solid 20th position on my SuperBru picks following that good result. I'm going Highlanders by just 8. So I'm not even putting the same confidence as you in them, but alas, we're still going both for Highlanders win, which will be a good start to this season. Right, let's go across the ditch over to the Western Rebels, or the Melbourne Force, as I like to call them. They're up against the Reds. Now, that's at Amy Park, so it is a home match for the team, but not many of the players. Now, let's start things off here with the Reds. I'm going to go with the away team first. Strugglers last year. You got to say the Reds, the Rebels, not the greatest teams. All of Australia are pretty poor. But not much has really changed this season for the Reds, I don't think. They just about lost to the Fiji Warriors. 17-15 in pre-season, when Mr. Thorne was going about trialling out all these new fandangled plays and tactics. I think they've got some issues. I think their squad's a bit too thin with actually first squad sort of players to work with. And when they don't have, like, the Cooper, the Frisbees have been thrown out like a Frisbee, do you think their squad's going to have what it takes this season to even be competitive?
I'm not being anywhere near as down as you on Australian rugby. Come on, let's not start with some positivity going into the season. Let's actually enjoy the rugby, not bash them straight away.
I'm bashing them straight away.
So, Brad Thorne has got no experience of head coach at this level, or any coach at this level really. I mean, he did a bit of strength and conditioning last year, but that was about it. The NRC level, he obviously went well with Queensland Country, and you've seen that because he's brought players through it. Now the NRC that's what it's been designed for. It's supposed to be for bringing players into Super Rugby and for preparing them, a bit like the Mitre 10 Cup. But you're right. The only player of note they brought in has been John O'Lance. And let's be honest, they are a team that's had some off-field issues. So he's gone and got rid of a couple of people who he thought would be cultural issues. And what then happens? Carmichael Hunt gets caught with drugs in his pocket. Now, apparently, there was insufficient evidence to prove he had cocaine in his pocket, which is what they actually arrested him for. Quite how that works, I'm not sure. I've not read the intricacies of the case, but that's been thrown out. But he's still got done for having Xanax. So he's still got done and has been fined, but doesn't have a criminal record because apparently that would make it difficult for him to travel abroad and play away games.
Oh, what a shame.
It's going to be difficult for him to play away games when he hasn't got a team to play for, and no one will pay him. But anyway, that's a small matter. So not only that, but you've also had George Smith got himself locked up in jail in Japan for 9 days, I think it was, and the Reds didn't even know where he was for 9 days. He just suddenly wasn't answering his phone. And they only found out afterwards, hey, I've been in jail. The Reds have got potential for off-field issues all over the shop. Now, they've got an enforcer in a head coach there who should be able to scare them to behave, but he doesn't seem to be doing a very good job so far. It's going to be interesting, but it should be a young side that can play without fear. That should be great fun to watch if he takes them down that route, and I hope that's where he goes with it.
That's a big call. He's going to go that way. I can see this team's going to very quickly go into its shell and be just terrified to even touch the ball. If they go off to a bad start, which could possibly happen this weekend, it could be all bad things. And I don't know if Brad Thorne's got he's definitely the character, but I don't know if he's got the experience and the coaching nous to really throw his weight around too much, especially off-field matters, like you say. Yeah, he could definitely help clean that up, but on the field, how is it going to affect the team? It's going to have to, like you talked about already, assistant coaches are going to have to do a lot of that sort of work for him if they're going to actually get anything decent out of this season. But they start off against the Rebels. It's not much better for the Rebels. No, I called the Rebels up. I gave them big props this season for the Rebels. I thought they were going to be, semi-decent. But you look at their pre-season games. They play the Waratahs and Brumbies, conceded 87 points, got smacked pretty much by 50 by both of them. Where does this team struggle? On paper, they look so good. But is it just the cohesion, you think, of the squad, or is there bigger problems around that team?
Clearly, cohesion's a big issue. You've got the forces. No, this isn't the armed forces. No, the Western Force coach has maybe. You're all off to boot camp. G.I. Joe. Anyway, so the where was I going? Well,
you've lost your thought completely.
So now you've got Wessels who's come in from the force, and he brought in 13 players with him. You've got all of the old rebels in there. Now John O'Lance has already gone. This isn't a good place for me. I'm jumping ship. And so the one player he wanted to keep has gone and run away. So he hasn't got a decent fly half, which doesn't help. But this did look like a great marriage of the rebels forwards with the force backline was going to be a winning combination. Unfortunately, what I think has happened from kind of rumours is that you've got all the old rebels don't appreciate the old force guys, and I think you've got two camps within the camp, and so unity is their big problem at the moment, I think, and they've from what I hear, and let's be honest, I'm not that close to the ground, but rumours are that there's some, basically they've got a split camp, which especially on defence, when you're supposed to be trying to trust the guy next to you, that really does not help.
No, and it's going to be two teams in a pretty similar camp as well. They open up against first round. So put it on the line. Who's going to win it? And what's going to make the deciding factor?
I've gone Rebels by 5 just because of the more experience. I think the Reds, as you say, very inexperienced. They'll give it a go, but I think they're going to find the step up from NRC to Super Rugby. It's going to be a bit of a wake-up call for them.
You got a margin?
Rebels by 5.
Oh, you said that, didn't you? Sorry, I missed that. Because I was too concentrating on me going by 11. Rebels by 11. We're going to double figures for the Rebels. I think they're going to start it off. The more I see the Reds, the more I think they're going to struggle again in 2018 as well. Right, let's go on. Next match of the weekend. We're going over to, I always hate the name of the stadium, but Prince Shishibu Memorial Stadium. I've already offended 1,000 Asian people over there. But the Sunwolves are up in action against the Brumbies. Let's go on to the positives. The Sunwolves starting off at home, which is going to help them definitely. I think, playing at home, confidence booster for sure. But
so okay. So let's just rewind 12 months. What happened at home 12 months ago on the opening game?
They would have lost
by 80 points to the Hurricanes from memory. So yes, let's go. Positivity.
But you've got it's better than being on the road. It's like the Jaguares.
You say that, but then again, that was their biggest loss of the season, was their first one at home. Anyway,
this season they've got Jamie Joseph.
They do, but he's got 2 jobs. He's also supposed to be managing Japan, so has he really got time to be messing around with these Sunwolf folks, because he's got Japan to deal with? That's going to be
Sunwolves folks are his Japan team, pretty much.
Quite a few of them are, but not all of them are. But yes, and they've got a decent coach, obviously, in Jamie Joseph. But I think he might be biting off more than he can chew, trying to be head coach of the national side and the Super Rugby side, and trying to do all the other things of building up players and bringing players through. So that's my main concern for them is I think he's stretching himself too far. Secondly, they've got a whole bunch of new players in. Now, some of those players know each other because Leach obviously plays for the national team, for example, has come in. So, but they have gone out and brought a bunch of foreigners in to help them out and to make them a bit more stable. But I think that means they're going to take a while to obviously to get that connectivity together and to get used to playing with each other. So those are my 2 concerns for them. I'm not expecting big things for them. If they don't, I expect them to come either last or second to last in the Australian Conference. I definitely do not have your positivity around them.
I don't think I predicted them much. I think I predicted them to be 4th in Australia. But it's better than Filo Tiatia. No offence to him, but what on earth has he ever done to coach the Super Rugby team like he did last season? Where that even came from, I don't know. So they just picked someone up that was already playing in the club and said, here you go, fill the gap for a season. Now that was, Joseph's got to be definitely 100% better than that. So, a bit more hope.
And he's also got Brown up there as well, who obviously head coached the Highlanders last year to help him out. So he's got some support staff now. I think Brown is with the national side rather than the Sunwolves, but obviously means he can offload some of that national rugby stuff to another guy who's got head coach experience at Super Rugby. So he does have people to support him. It will be a better place than it was last year. I just still think they're still going to be a million miles off the other sides.
But the good news is that they're in the Australian Conference now. So that is always good because they'll be kicking off. Probably their hardest task will be against the Brumbies. But the Brumbies are a hard team to read from their early form because obviously we haven't seen them play a proper match yet. They're the first game. They smashed the Rebels. Is that even a big deal anymore? I'm not too sure. But they did lose to the Chiefs, which I thought probably should have been a game they should have expected to win, given the way the Chiefs are this season, I think. They're missing some key guys early in the season. Harsh. I struggle to see the Chiefs going well this year. But these early games, especially this will have to be a big win, bonus point ring for the Brumbies, do you think?
Absolutely. I'm going Brumbies by 15. So that's the biggest margin I'm going for in any of the games this weekend. So yes.
Is that it?
Fine.
You just said that they lost 80-0 or by 80 points last time.
They did. That was against the Hurricanes. The Brumbies are not the Hurricanes. Let's be honest here, okay?
Oh, that's true.
The Brumbies are a well-coached outfit that will get themselves enough rolling mauls to get tries, but they're not going to cut the teams to pieces all over the park. Now, so we're getting some great stories here. Obviously, Christian Leofano coming back from leukemia is fantastic for them, both as a story and also as a player. He's had a good pre-season with Ulster, which has helped him get some proper game time under his belt. So he'll be arriving fresh, or at least at match pace straight away. And you got to say the Brumbies will be the well-organised outfit they have been for a while. Now, again, they've got a new coach as well, with Larkham moving up to the Wallabies. So again, we've got his. I've gone blank. His assistant has stepped up to be head coach, and Laurie Fisher, who used to be joint head coach of the Brumbies, and also was head coach of Gloucester for a while, is back as well. Now he's a guy a bit like Wayne Smith, who in Australia is seen as being a really good coach, but not a good head coach. So we should be seeing a well coached Brumbies side, even if they have got a new head coach. We've got to see how well he goes. I expect them to beat Sunwolves quite comfortably.
Dan McCullough is the man's name you're looking for, the assistant from last season, up for the Brumbies.
I see you noticed I didn't say his name, and I didn't know it.
Hey, it was an easy one. I thought you shouldn't have left that one out. If it was a difficult one, I would have let it slide, but it's okay. So you're going the Brumbies by 15 is your pick.
Yep.
I'm going Brumbies by 19, so I'm ousting you a little bit because that's just what I do. That's my game. So that's that game. So we're both going Brumbies. A big win for them to kick off this season. I think we could be both quite far off if that one goes a bit pear-shaped for them. Next one could be one of the crackers. Crusaders versus the Chiefs. Not know what your thoughts on the Chiefs are here, but we're gonna be talking about them in a second. But first, the Crusaders are at home as well. Now, here's the $1 million question for you. Defending champions, yes, we know all that. But is this going to be the fabled undefeated year in Super Rugby?
No.
No?
No, come on.
Come on, we had two teams last year that did it one match short.
Maybe so, but come on. The Crusaders are missing their two first choice props. They're missing their first choice number 8, and they're missing somebody else. I've gone blank as to who it is for a whole chunk of the season. So they're missing 4 first choice All Blacks. I can't remember who the fourth one is, but I know that it's another big player. Anyway, so come on, they're sure they can replace their props with two more props who have played the All Blacks, but the depth isn't quite there that they had last season. So they're going to be more reliant on other players. They're going to get more tired. They're going to need to rotate them. So they are going to pick up an odd loss here or there. That doesn't mean to say I still see the Crusaders as favourites to win the whole thing, but I wouldn't back them to go undefeated.
It's a big call considering last year they had plenty of injuries as well. They were without plenty of players last season as well. And if anything, you could say the squad is a bit stronger. And kicking off against the Chiefs, which, they've lost pretty much their whole starting squad. So a bit of an arguable call. But on the Crusaders...
So the Chiefs have lost international break from Japan, All Black scrum half and All Black fly half, and they're replacing them with a All Black number 8, All Black scrum half, All Black fly half. Yeah,
not the same. Not the same. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Mackenzie is no Cruden. Not yet. Not at this day. No chance. Weber is no Carballo. No chance. That was the bulk of their team. They're still a good team. But we're not talking about them yet. We've still got one more point here on the Crusaders.
Okay, Carl,
how do you beat them? How do you beat them? Do you beat them at something, a weakness, or do you play your own strength?
You've always got to play to your own strengths. But adapt that to their weaknesses, obviously.
So both.
A bit of both. But you don't change your game plan totally. If you're the Chiefs, you're going to want to play to Mackenzie's strengths. If you're the Highlanders, you're going to want to put up, you're going to put up lots of contestable kicks, have broken field play. If you're the Blues, you're just going to sit in the corner and pray that they have food poisoning. And if you're the Hurricanes, you're going to play to Bowden Barrett's play. Basically, you don't want to take one up front because they can field an All Black scrum practically, and you're going to want to break it up and try and beat them in the backs if you can.
I'm interested to know the Chiefs. We talked a little bit about them, but we're saving this one here. What do you expect from the Chiefs? Now, you spoke a little bit about it, but there's a lot of unknown going on in the squad. There's a lot of new going on in this Chiefs team. They got possibly the toughest, well, no, it is the toughest start you could get to a Super Rugby season. Playing the Crusaders at home. Doesn't get much harder than that. Can they afford to drop an early game? Can they afford to have a bad start to the season? Or do you think that these unknown guys are going to stand up straight away?
Well, first off, Crusaders managed to buck the trend of history by actually winning their first game last season. They normally lose it. I mean, they lost to the Rebels a couple of seasons ago at home in the opening game of the season. So, whilst, yes, I agree, going to Christchurch to play the Crusaders is probably one of the hardest places to go. It's not necessarily the hardest place to go on opening day of the season because the Crusaders do start slow. So perhaps it's not the hardest. So perhaps in some ways you can say, hey, we're lucky to get the Crusaders early because we get them when they're cold. They've not warmed up yet. So perhaps this is the perfect game for the Chiefs to run into this. Now, Kate, the Chiefs have got a new head coach who is notorious for holding his cards close to his chest, and so hence we're still guessing as to what squad he's going to select. But whatever squad he selects, he's going to have a very good scrum that's going to provide a platform that's going to give Weber and Mackenzie time to play, and with players like Charlie Nartai just outside him, they've got a quality back line. No, I'm expecting to see Damien Mackenzie to run the show, and as the game sort of creates more bits, slows a bit down a bit, has a bit more space, then you're going to see him trying to break and go for those gaps. But early doors, he's going to have to obviously put the ball on boot and distribute it.
You're putting a lot of expectation on that young man's shoulders there. Goodness me. Side point, Charlie Nartai to make it through the first game without being concussed. 5-1. It's not a laughing matter. It's really sad for him. I get where you're coming from, but you've got to say, if he hadn't had these head issues, he could have 30, 40, or 20, 30 All Blacks caps under his belt. He could have that 12 jersey being his jersey. It was his to grab and take, and then he got concussed. It's a real sad story, and it's a real shame. So good luck to him in Europe, and make some money, mate, because you're going to need to. The players need to make money while they can to retire them. Yeah, I agree. It's not a laughing matter, but I just don't see him making it through the season without getting too harmed. It's just sad. I think he's done the right thing, though. I think the best choice he made was to cash in now, and make the most of it while he still can.
Absolutely,
so it's a bit of a shame.
I agree. I don't think he'll make it through the season. I think he's going to have some time off injured. But if he can get through the first 3-4 games, let's Mackenzie get comfortable in that 10 jersey, then great. Let's remember, Mackenzie has worn that 10 jersey all the way through the age groups. It's only, pardon, for Southland. It's only when he's got to Super Rugby that he's actually started at fullback, and then he's also had a bunch of games already when Cruden's been injured at 10 as well. So yes, he had a shocker against the British and Irish Lions, but we are talking the British and Irish Lions that beat the All Blacks in one game, that drew the All Blacks in another game. We're not going to go down and talk about refereeing decisions here, but that's what the history says. Okay, so that was a strong Lions side. The Maori scrum disintegrated in front of him. It was awful conditions. And whilst Hurricane Gita might give him awful conditions again, his pack is not going to be going backwards at a rate of knots like the like the Maori All Blacks were.
Yeah, that's fair cool. You're cracking open all the big cans of worms today, aren't you? Referees, God, the works. We've only had a couple of yellow cards this tournament. Don't get me started already. Goodness me. Right, who's going to win it? Who's going to win it, and where are they going to win it?
Crusaders by 5. At the end of the day, they're just too organised and just too ruthless.
I'm quite close, actually. I've gone Crusaders by 6, which is very strange. I'm considering re-guessing my picks here because they're a little bit too close to yours. But that could be helpful later on. Let's move on. Next game.
The pro, you see?
Yeah, we'll see at the end of the season.
The man in the know.
We'll see at the end of the season. It's on. Waratahs Stormers. Back to Australia we go. Allianz Stadium. Now, the Waratahs. Here's a $1 million question for you that might get you a job on rugby. What are we going to see from the Waratahs this season? Are we going to be last year's Waratahs? We're going to have an improved Waratahs? We're going to have just no idea Waratahs? Now, we talked to the Scottish Canon. He was on the Australian Conference preview. Now, I found his statements interesting. Where last year he said he hoped the Waratahs would be better each game he watched. But this year, he said he believed the Waratahs would be better. Can you see anything changing under Gibson? Do you have the hope that the Canon hopes?
No, not really.
Good answer.
So when I did my preview of the Australian Conference with on House Rugby Chat, and I put the point out there that the Waratahs are the only side in the Australian Conference that has actually kept the same coach, and the majority of responses I got on Twitter were, yeah, they're the only side that's really got rid of their coach. I mean, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, that's so true.
So Daryl Gibson just is. I just don't see Daryl Gibson as being the man for the job. The Waratahs are unfortunately less than the sum of their parts. They have got some wonderful players there. I mean, Foley is like the second highest scorer on your fantasy rugby games, and you got Flau at the back, who is kind of one of the best All Blacks. No, just because he's going out with the Kiwi doesn't mean he's Kiwi. One of the best fullbacks in the world. They've got quality through that side, but unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to play together in the way that you'd expect them to do. So, yeah, and that comes down to the coach. It's all the coach's fault in this case, and I don't think Daryl Gibson's up to it.
It's much like we talked about Hammond, isn't it? Probably a better assistant coach than he is a head coach. They're going to be up against the Stormers. Now, we can actually talk about a team that's played. This is almost exciting. Now, the Stormers this season, the key thing I noticed about the Stormers in their opening game was how much they, to a way, relied, but how much their old guys stood up and actually took this team on board. I'm talking likes of Dealandi, massive, Khaleesi, massive, Nizam Carr, Divanaka, names like that. Guys that have been around the traps, around the blocks a while. Is this how you expect this team to perform all years? Is this their game plan to play this sort of style and keep those guys in the forefront? I mean, Dealandi's been terrible for probably 3 seasons now. It was great to see him actually play a good game. Do you expect them to, something that they're doing this year that's changed, that's actually going to lift them up with these experienced guys?
I think all the South African teams have sort of noticed what the Lions have done. They've noticed where they want the Springboks to go, and they'll all play a bit more rugby than they have done historically. And I think the players will enjoy that. In fact, hey, I can do a bit more. This is good. I'm not just stuck in set routines of doing the same thing over and over again. You've also got to remember that the Stormers are missing players like Evan Etzebeth, and they're also, I've gone blank as to their second locking pair. So basically, their first
Steph Detroit.
That's the one. So they're basically their first choice locking pair is missing, which never helps when you're on the road. And they really should have put away what was a very poor tackling Jaguares side much more comfortably than they did in the end. I think they've got some young players in there, especially in the halfbacks. Now, Willemsen, or however you pronounce his name, impressed me. He kept a calm head in, whereas a lot of other players lost their heads, especially the scrum half, who was very lucky not to get himself yellow carded, I thought, at one point. So at home, that's one thing. On the road, it's totally other. And I think that inexperience in that halfback pairing is going to hurt them.
Dylan Lades, amazing. Raymond Rule. They've got good players. They had a good match. I was impressed by the Stormers in their opening game. That's going to be, I think that's going to be key for them. Just those guys consistently playing at a good level as well. And like I say, I think I've got a point later on, possibly in the next match as well, about how South Africa, I think, got some of the most outstanding outside back talents going around, young guys in Super Rugby at the moment. We'll talk about that more with the Lions in the next matchup. Finishing off with the Waratahs Stormers, it is in Australia, Allianz Stadium. Who's going to win this one? Is that match for the Stormers already played going to help them out with the Waratahs?
It might do,
on the road?
But again, it means that whereas the Jaguares have been in South Africa for a couple of weeks, and so jet lag and stuff isn't so much of a problem. Obviously, the Stormers have not had that opportunity to do that, so they will be arriving late and will be jet lagged. South African teams don't travel well, and so yeah, Tars by 5 for me.
Ooh, you're going for the Waratahs. Finally, this is where I lead. I've got Stormers by 2. Big win for the Stormers on the road. Good team. Waratahs, headless chickens. 2017 all over again. Heard it here first. Calling it out. Waratahs going down. Let's move on. 2 matches to go. Shake your head of disappointment. I like it. I like it. Good start. Lions and the Jaguares. Now we're still in South Africa. Emirates Airline Park. Again, 2 home games in a row for the Lions. Now Lions, another team we've already played, so we can actually talk about the match. They were tested. The Sharks tested the Lions, and I think they tested them pretty blimmin' well as well. So nice to see the difference with the assistant coach coming up, De Bruin coming in, and whether that attacking intent that they have has actually changed in their game, because they have spoken a lot about it in the build-up to the season, about how they want to evolve, for a good word, of what Ackerman had done and not be the same side that team's already seen for the last 2 seasons. So do you think that this team has actually progressed any from your early signs of them from where they were last year? Are they doing anything new, different, better that's going to help them, supersede and hopefully, maybe for them's sake, become champions?
Yeah, okay, fine. We talk about all this evolving and all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, the assistant coach that they've got there was responsible for a lot of the play they've had for the last couple of years. Now, he's a very good coach, so yeah, I don't expect a big change in their style. Yeah, it'll evolve a bit. Yanchi's had a wonderful kicking game at the weekend. Some of his kicking was pinpoint. So yes, expect a bit more of that. His execution was good. He ran the show, and that proved to be one of the big differences between these two teams. Unfortunately for them, though, you could tell it was early season. I think they had something like 18 turnovers during the game. So there was a lot of ball being turned over in contact. Quite a lot of balls were being dropped and weren't going to hand as well. So this should play into the Lions' hands. The Jaguares scrum isn't great. The Lions' scrum was absolutely devastating at the weekend. The Sharks had 10 scrums and they lost 6 of them. So the Lions can basically happily knock it on and know they're going to get the ball back anyway. So no big deal. So I mean, it means they have a license to do whatever they like because they know they can get the ball back. On the flip side, their line-out was appalling. They lost their first 2 line-outs and they ended up losing like 4 or 5 line-outs in the game. So conversely, the Jaguares can quite happily kick the ball off the park and have a very good chance of getting the ball back again, which is obviously great for territory. So the Lions have got a lot to work on from that first game, but expect a similar attacking style.
It's going to be hard for them to really attack the line out though off both the Loxer and the sin bin though, isn't it? Yellow card joke. Come on.
It is, but big props to their locks. They only gave up, between the 2 of them, 1 penalty all game. I was very impressed by that. Absolutely shocked me. Now Creevy, he gave up 4 penalties from hooker, and one of their props gave up another 4 penalties as well. So that doesn't mean that the Jaguares are suddenly good boys and not giving up penalties. They gave up a stack of penalties, but it was just different players this time. Lagavini, that's what I'm talking about, the Scottish whiskey now rather than actual Argentinian lock. But anyway, you know who I mean. He used to be good for a yellow card every other game, but I say he only gave up one penalty all game, and I thought that the locks were very well behaved.
Lavanini, they're the guy you're thinking of?
That's the one, yeah.
Lavanini. He loves a yellow card in Nini. He's a great player. Right, moving on. The Jaguares, you kind of talked about most of my point there about the team, but I think overall they were not super impressive, but I was kind of impressed with the way they didn't throw the game away when they were down 22 points to 6, I think it was, at one point. They didn't just throw the bag in like they probably in the past would have, I'd say quite often have done, and go down 30 points to 10 or something silly like that. So I was impressed by that stage of thing, but you've already talked about the discipline of the team. They're renowned for poor discipline. Did you see any impressive signs or any signs of good things for the team against their in their loss in their first match?
No, it was a lot of the same, unfortunately. So we saw them lose their heads in the first half when they got a yellow card. Creevy was having a go at the ref and stuff, and you could see them losing their heads towards the end of the game as well. Unfortunately, when they were chasing it too much. But on the flip side of that, they do have a lovely offloading game when it comes off, and in South Africa, it's going to be dry. It's going to be good handling conditions, and if the Lions continue to be spilling the ball and turning it over as often as they did in the first game, then the Jaguares have got a good chance of some broken field play and racking some points up.
Yeah, and finally on that team, that's what I was saying before about the South African bright prospects with the Lions especially. Their outside backs, Mahuza, Dianti, Kutsia, Manisi, James van Rensburg. That's just at the Lions, but also the likes of Mapimpi and Co at the Sharks, Nkosi. Do you think the future is bright for the back line? We're going to see some more stellar players for South Africa in the future from this group of youngsters that we see at Super Rugby now?
That's it, and I guess it's all part of the transformation thing as well, isn't it? We've got a lot of them are however we're supposed to put it. It's great to see that the sides are much more multicultural than they have been in the past. A lot of these young guys coming through are coloured guys, and they're playing really well, and it's great. It's not just in the backs. Obviously, you got Khaleesi. We saw another. I've gone absolutely blank, but we had another guy flanker come in and steal the ball at the very end of the Lions game, I think it was, and he turned the ball over to close the game out. Sorry, that wasn't. No, that was the Stormers actually. Sorry, Stormers against Jaguares. So no, it's great to see these young guys coming through and see that the whole transformation thing is I think it's kind of getting there. Yep.
Without starting a whole nother can of worms that you're trying to start about this sort of thing, it doesn't matter what colour their skin is. I know what it is like in Africa, but I mean, Khaleesi is good. He's like one of the best flankers going around.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I don't care if he's black or white, he should be a Springbok. Yeah. That's the most annoying thing is about it.
These guys are there on merit, as you say. They're playing well. We're not saying they've gone and put a guy on the wing who shouldn't really be there, but they couldn't put him anywhere else, and they've got to keep their numbers up. We're not saying that anymore, but we did.
Yeah,
that was
true.
We were kind of quietly not saying that 5 years ago. Now we don't have to quietly not say it. We can actually we can sing out loud. It's working. Look at these great players who are coming along and playing. It's great to see them. Dante, a guy who got told at school he was too small to play rugby, went to university, took it up again, and lovely moment of skill off Warren Whiteley. It gets the ball, chips it through. Lovely try for the Lions. And these guys, whatever country in the world they're in, these guys will be making teams because they're good players.
On credit, not anything else.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
They're good players.
Yeah, exactly. Last team we're going to be looking at, last match we're going to be looking at, we haven't done the margin yet. Margin, Lions, Jaguars. Jaguars, what's it going to be?
You're assuming I'm going to say Lions, are you?
No.
Right, Lions by 15.
I had a glimmer of hope for a second you were going to say Jaguares. Just for a second. I've got the Lions by 14 as my pick. So I've gone very, very close to you again. This is almost becoming concerning. I don't like it at all. Last match. Last two teams Get together, went so far off track there that I just lost my place completely. Bulls and the Hurricanes. Loftus.
So go on.
First time we've seen the Bulls.
Oh, damn, I was going to say, talk me through how you see the Bulls playing.
To be honest with you, I've written the Bulls completely off. And a lot of what I read have written the Bulls completely off. But what I find interesting, I'll say that's good use of that word, is the extensive preseason that the Bulls actually had, playing, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4 games, 2 of them on the same day of 2 different squads. Sure, I can understand that. But they drew off the Stormers. They got thrashed by the Lions. We'll just ignore that one. They lost to the Sharks averagely, but they did beat the Jaguares in pre-season already. They're the only team that hasn't played. We know that, obviously, from South Africa. Is it an advantage to them? Do you think it's harsh that this team is getting written off early on? And do you think having a week later start is going to be helpful to them seeing, their early stage, what they're up against with the other 4 sides?
I don't think starting 1 week later or earlier makes any difference, really. The only thing was that they played a self-opposed warm-up game last weekend, and which should be interesting. When I was did the South African, or I can't remember what show it was now. Anyway, one show I was on, and we were talking about the Bulls. And I was saying, one of the things about it is that obviously at school, house matches was where you got most of your injuries. It wasn't during the rest of the season. And kind of playing a possibles against probables, which is what they did last weekend, may have led to a few injuries as teammates try and outdo each other to make the team. Okay, let's put it this way. Would you like to see John Mitchell coaching the Highlanders?
The Highlanders. Oh, see, we've already talked extensively about John Mitchell in the South African preview, but you're more than welcome to go on about John Mitchell some more. I encourage it. I like it that he's far away as possible. What made me laugh was the article last week about how if John Mitchell was successful at the Bulls, he could be the next Springboks coach. How about that in your cornflakes in the morning?
Oh dear. You see, South Africans actually like him and rate him and think he's a decent coach, which is what's really funny. Again, I was chatting with the Yellow Cap and Grit Sports from South Africa, and they were both shocked. I was like, yeah, we don't want him. Feel free, please keep him. They're like, what? He's a good coach. Okay, fine, whatever. So obviously he's rated in South Africa. He's not rated here. It is what it is. What he's gone and done is he's taken a youth approach. He dropped Rudy Page, who was the starting Springbok scrum half in pre-season, and said, hey, you're dropped, I'm going with youth. Now, whether he follows that through, we'll only find out this coming weekend. But if he does, then we're looking at a 2-3 year project at minimum. We're not looking at anything happening this season. If as I say, he does follow the talk, then they're not going to do anything this season, but they will do. They may grow over the next couple of years.
And you got to say, South Africans are probably more used to the crazy media post-conference stuff that John Mitchell is into. I mean, they've had a couple of crazy ones, haven't they, in the last few years? So he might fit in well over there. They might grow towards him and embrace him over the next few years if he even lasts that long. But
arguably, he laid the foundations for the Lions.
Which Lions? Oh, the Lions. The
Lions.
The South African Lions.
The South African Lions.
He was involved there, yeah, true.
So arguably, he laid the foundations that John Ackerman then sort of grew off. So if he can set up the similar foundations at the Bulls and we see similar success in the future, then hey, maybe he is a super coach.
Oh God. Famous last words.
I did use the word maybe. Okay.
Just play it safe for now. I'm going to title the video, Driving Maul Claims John Mitchell Super Coach. Like it. Beautiful. Let's move on. Last team now. Hurricanes. Now, I've got a good point here to start off with the Hurricanes. Do you think that they've missed a trick here by not doing what the Jaguares did and going to South Africa early to prepare for this first match against the Bulls? They were still playing in New Zealand on the 15th of the month. It is only going to be a couple of weeks later. Have they missed a trick here by not going to prepare early? The Jaguares were there for about the 3 matches before, 2 or 3 warm-up matches? Should have they gone over, played a warm-up match against a South African team somewhere, acclimatised, be absolutely perfectly ready for this opening round match of theirs?
So that's what the Jaguares have got no one they can play at home, so they have to go somewhere else to play teams. So they had to. Whereas the Hurricanes, that's what they've got an audience, they've got fans that they've got to keep happy. They've got to go to Ekatahuna, where I've been to watch rugby before, to play a game. They've got to get out there and spread the word. So should they have gone 3 games beforehand? No, not that long. Yeah, they should have used the opportunity to go perhaps a week and a half before the game rather than leave it to the normal Super Rugby travel. I'm not sure when they did fly out there, but that would be what I would have done.
Yeah, definitely seems like they could have helped themselves a bit better than the normal later on in the season. Do you think getting the road trip out of the way early in the season, straight away pretty much in the Hurricanes' case, is better, or leaving it till the end and making it a do or die situation if you get to that stage of the tournament?
No, I think you want to be doing it. You don't want to be leaving it to the end. One of the things we saw with the Highlanders 2 years ago was I think they played the Jaguares in like the second to last round or something like that. So ended up flying all the way to South America, coming back, then had an away game in like South Africa, then having to fly back to Australia for a game, and in the end they just ran out of steam and just got knackered by all the travel. So no, if you don't want to leave it to the end of the season, that's for certain. Now, whether you want to have it first up or in the middle of the season, that's up for grabs. I would probably say you might want to have it sort of middle of the season to break the season up and make it a bit more fun, rather than having the monotonous of games at home all the time. But yeah, don't have it at the end of the season.
Spells for disaster. So that's it. That's our last game. What have you got? Bulls, Hurricanes, Loftus, result?
There will be a result, and it'll be the Hurricanes by 7.
Oh, you're going all the way up to 7. I've got the Hurricanes by a measly 2 points. Just the 2. The road is going to be the equaliser, I think, for the Bulls. I'm interested to see what the Bulls are going to actually show. I think they could be okay, or they could be absolutely dreadful. So if they ever play, the Reds and the Rebels, whenever that happens, that'll be a good matchup. Until then, though, could be bad news for the Bulls. That is it, though. We've done all the matches of round 2. You've got more to add. Go on.
There's always more to add, isn't there? Come on, we could go all day, all night. But
I don't have enough hard drive space for that. God.
So, let's be honest, that's what's exciting about this season, I think, is we have got a bunch of teams. We don't really know what they're going to do. We haven't got a clue what the Bulls are going to do. The Reds are a total mystery, total basket case of an organisation that seems to just always hire coaches with no experience. The Rebels, are we going to see Force 2.0, or are we going to see something else from Wessels out of the Rebels? We don't know. We've got new head coaches at the Highlanders, at the Chiefs. What are they going to do? Are they going to vastly change things? I can't see that happening necessarily with the Highlanders, but the Chiefs, yeah, as you say, there's a bunch of change there. What's going to happen there? The Sharks, is this finally the year that these guys are coming of age? They've gone and got Dupree in there, who I know quite a few people consider to be the best South African fly half at the moment. So, yeah, there's a lot of things here. There's a lot of teams that actually we don't know what they're going to do. That's going to be interesting. And that's what makes this season a bit of an exciting season, I think.
Yes, indeed. I thought he had a stunning game too, and for the Sharks, he was classy. He looked good. It was good for them to get rid of that broken Lambie sort of picture and move on to something promising for the future for the Sharks fans. That is it. That is us done and dusted for today. A nice short one, as always. Brilliant to see. So, lastly, if anyone wants to join in and have a chat with you, see where you are, find you, whereabouts can they do that?
Obviously, at Driving Maul on Twitter. And this weekend, I will be doing a live show after the Highlanders versus the Blues. So catch that on YouTube. I'll also be in a live show after the Crusaders versus the Chiefs. So catch those shows straight after the game. I think, did you said you might be free for the Friday one? We'll see.
I can do the Friday one.
Yeah, you're definitely doing the Friday one, aren't we? Yeah, so we're doing the Friday one with you. So catch Cornflake and I after the Highlanders Blues game.
Sounds good to me. That wraps us up for today. Perfectly timing, excellently. We'll see you all next week for round number 3. Until then, as always, take care.
Missing you already.
So leaving that in.